Scott Baum here from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. Search our big selection of pre-owned cars and trucks by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio this morning is Clinton Mayor Helen Michelassi as we follow up the Tuesday night Clinton City Council meeting. Good to see you, Mrs. Mayor.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for making time for us and for coming in. It's good to have you in the studio here to chat with us. And, as we were catching up before we got started this morning, I know you recently retired, and that has really allowed you to really dive headfirst into leading City Hall, the city of Clinton. Speak to kind of where you're at. I mean, we're a month or two in now. How about this?
It has been great to have one job instead of two jobs. And since I retired from my Prairieland job, I feel like I'm available to city staff. If they need a signature, if they're having a meeting about a strategic plan or an ordinance, I can show up and I can be there to be a part of the process, which is what I said when I campaigned is I need to wait till I retire to run because I need to be a part of the process. I think you need to have a mayor that's going to do what I'm doing, that shows up and participates just in the daily stuff as needed at City Hall.
So, we talk about the strategic plan, which has guidelines for, the city and where it's going. How about yourself? I mean, do you have a checklist of things you're doing in the first, 3 months, 6 months, whatever that benchmark is?
I do have some things that I've tried to focus on. I've tried to focus on learning what everybody else what the department heads and what they do exactly and what they need. Part of a job, I believe, as mayor is making sure everybody else has what they need to do their job. City employees and department heads and city staff. So when we talk about that, it does loop in a strategic plan as far as where are they going, what are they doing, and what are their priorities. One of the things is we need to clean things up. We need to clean up the city. The other thing is we need to start bringing community members together to work on projects and getting those community members' input. So that's been a big focus, especially the last month or so.
How about just building relationships in City Hall with the department heads, that administrative team at City Hall? How's all that going from your perspective?
It's going great. Of course, it's easy when you have the team we have. When you have Tony and Cameron and Lori and all the folks at City Hall and Clint. I'm one of those folks that needs to know the answer. So I don't just want you to say, this is just this. I need to know how things work and what the background is so we can move things forward. I am learning about the fire department, the police department. I've talked a lot to some folks from the fire department and Chief Flowers to say, what do you have? What do you need? I've taken a tour of the police department. What does this look like? What do your officers have? How many do you have? What are they doing? So that it's been a bit of a learning so that then when we talk about these things and it comes up in the strategic plan, I can process that in context.
Sure. And I know you've been meeting not just with folks in City Hall and those sorts of things. You're really branching out into the community and getting in front of and meeting with the stakeholders of the community. I think of the chamber, DCDC. You talked about the fire and safety and all those things.
Right.
Speak to maybe some of the efforts away from City Hall and what you're doing there.
Well, we met recently with the chamber. I would like to pull together the chamber and DCDC and a couple of folks at City Hall so we can talk about not just the city and what we're doing to promote and make progress there, but countywide. I do have an intention, and I have not done it yet, so I guess it's new on your show, is I'm going to be sending out an invitation to mayors, all the mayors in the county, and I would like them to get together and have a meeting so that we talk about what's good in each of our cities, villages, communities to promote the county that thereby promotes our cities as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think Tony has mentioned that a few times,
Yeah.
getting everybody together.
Get everybody together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's again, I kind of I don't know if I mentioned it with you or Tony or who, but you know, you can do all the meetings and talk to all the people and all of those things, but I think what people really want to hear is the action that comes out of that, the
That's
goals.
exactly right.
How about that?
So we were talking about, let's talk about cleaning up the city a little bit and doing some work. I had reached out to some folks had said, I'd like to volunteer. Anything I can do for the city, I'd like to help. So I reached out to those volunteers, and we had a meeting a week ago. And I said, one of the things I'd like to do is take care of the welcome signs. When it says welcome to Clinton, we have 6 of them at every highway entering town. And the sign is nice. The sign's beautiful. They're recently updated. But there's nothing there. There's no flowers. There's no real landscaping. There's rock. So I talked to Steve Lobb and Tony Harris and said, I met with the committee, and the committee, we kicked around ideas. What are we going to do? And the important part of that, Seth, is we kicked around ideas. We all had different ideas that we brought to the table. And so now we can reach a consensus in our next meeting about what we're going to do and how that's going to work. And I invite other community members to reach out. Send me an email at my city email address, h.michelassi at clintonillinois.com, and tell me what your ideas are. Tell me if you want to be part of that committee or part of that project, because it's pulling everybody together and getting all of their ideas that will have the biggest impact. Because you're right, you can talk about it forever. I think we have talked about things for years, and now we're going to step that out. And what does that look like in practice? And now we're putting those things into action.
Yeah. You know, when you mentioned Chamber, DCDC, bringing them together, for a lot of folks, probably the red light bulb went off of economic development and recruiting business and all of those things. Speak to your goals with where you hope to see those two entities go, what they're doing, what they can do together with the city of Clinton. What's your vision?
Well, and I think DCDC and the Chamber and the city should all have the same path here when it comes to economic development. We need to know what each one is doing. What is the city doing for economic development? Part of our responsibility is making the city attractive, right? And having we have a good school system. We have all these things to offer, obviously. So what does DCDC bring to the table then? And what does the Chamber bring to the table? Because if somebody drives into town, all 3 of us should be prepared to raise our hand and say, here you go. Here's what we do, and here's our part in that.
And your message is the same, right?
Yes, yeah. Right. That we're all on the same page.
Yeah, they're not hearing something different from DCDC and the Chamber and you. But
that's only going to happen if DCDC, the Chamber, and I talk.
Or
Tony and they talk. So that we're all have the same plan.
Yeah.
We have the same strategy, so to speak.
Pulling in the same direction is the way I like to say it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, for sure. Very good. Clinton Mayor Helen Michelassi joins me in studio this morning. We follow up the Tuesday night Clinton City Council meeting. Volunteerism is a big point of emphasis for you. It sounds like, Mrs. Mayor. You've really brought that up the last couple of meetings. Let's speak to just your goals, your visions for volunteerism, and what you have in store there.
Well, and I think I've spent my life volunteering, right? My mother and dad shoved us out the door when we were very small, said, go do some good work somewhere. So I have seen firsthand the impact it has on our community here. And in that same vein, when Apple and Pork is coming up, right? We're going to have Apple and Pork. And I'm asking the community members to please volunteer somewhere for Apple and Pork, because it's important we all remember the groups at Apple and Pork who are raising money, and this may be and probably is the biggest fundraiser they will do all year. They can't do that without volunteers. I've seen many groups leave the museum grounds, and when I say what happened, they say, we don't have the volunteers anymore, right? We can't keep going. CCA that I was a part of for a year recently folded because we do not have the volunteers. So if you, gosh, not Kiwanis. What was it? They folded too. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, and CCA did. So it's like Apple and Pork is a big deal for those not-for-profits because they take the money earned at Apple and Pork, And then that's what gets them through the year
Mm-hmm.
to help our community.
Mm-hmm.
Those not-for-profits are helping all of us and
Mm-hmm.
helping our friends and neighbors.
Sure.
I mean, it gets down to the minutiae. They help somebody
Mm-hmm.
in all likelihood. Somebody you go to church with, somebody you work with may need their services.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do apple and pork without you. You can do a 2-hour shift.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told Seth one time, that we're not asking people to break up rocks here. We're asking them to sell a piece of apple cake, a cookie,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That you're going to sit in a chair and take money
Mm-hmm.
or smile and hand over a cookie.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're doing in that 2 hours makes all the difference to that not-for-profit.
For sure.
And helps the museum.
So in terms of recruiting volunteers, obviously you're here on the radio with us this morning
Right.
talking about it. You're meeting with prospective volunteers and what they have going on. Anything else you're planning to do to, just increase volunteerism in the city? How about that?
Well, I think the more we do in the city that they see, we're starting with the welcome signs. We did have talked to somebody from the city about maybe the signs that also mark the parks. And then what else should we do? Some other folks have given me other ideas, or they're starting to funnel in ideas on what volunteers can do. And maybe it'll be that somebody will volunteer when it's their niche, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's going to be, I need somebody with a skid steer who can move some gravel.
Mm-hmm.
Who can level out some ground, who can do that part of it at a ballpark or something. So maybe the volunteering will come when it's target specific.
Yeah. So starting there with that effort, and again, Mrs. Mayor, anything else in terms of volunteering or so very good. Well, I'll tell you what, I look at the clock. We could use a break. So let's take it here and we'll come back with some more. Again, Clinton Mayor Helen Michelassi, my guest in studio, as we follow up the Tuesday night Clinton City Council meeting. More to come with the mayor on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Wednesday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. Corn starting today slightly higher, beans higher, and wheat slightly lower. September corn opening 404 up 2 3/4. December corn up 422 3/4. March corn 440 up 3 1/4. August beans 1006 3/4 up 11 3/4. September beans 998 3/4 up 11 1/2. November beans 1013 1/2 up 11 3/4. September wheat 535 down 3. December wheat down 3, 555 3/4. And March wheat 573 3/4 down 3 1/4. August bean meal 269.60, that's up 430. August bean oil 54.67 up 11 cents. Opening numbers on this Wednesday morning. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Is the summer heat getting to you? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Farmer City, inviting you to cool down in a new Chevy. We have cool new crossovers like the Chevy Equinox or hot new trucks like the Chevy Silverado 1500, which has up to $7,500 in extra savings over our regular discounts. See all our inventory and prices online. And don't forget, we need and would love to trade yours in. Chevrolet, together let's drive. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
CEO Paul Skowron here from Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. Call our family medicine clinic now to get your children's school physicals scheduled. We're accepting new patients of all ages. More info by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio this morning is Clinton Mayor Helen Michelassi. Following up the Tuesday night Clinton City Council meeting. And Mrs. Mayor, one thing we got to chatting about in the break is your vision to establish is it a retail merchants association?
Well, I refer to it as a retail merchants association. I don't know what the merchants will end up calling it, but we have talked about it at the city level. Tony Harris, city administrator, and I have talked about it extensively. And we're going to go out and start talking to retailers on the square and in the community as a whole and ask them if they would participate in a meeting to organize a retailers association for the city of Clinton. There used to be one here some time ago. It was really active. They had a lot of participation from the merchants. And they agreed on a lot of things. They did things like, okay, it's Christmas. We're going to be open late on Fridays till 8 o'clock, or we're going to celebrate this at Christmas time. We're going to do this on the square or that on the square or throughout the community. And I think, I know we have one or two merchants on the square that have talked to me, and they're very excited about the idea of this. So I think as a member of the city, I would say Tony and I would be happy to sort of get everybody together,
and let them take it from there.
Put out some cookies and punch and say, okay, come on and let's talk about this. But it's not our thing.
It has to be
merchants,
theirs. Yeah.
It's the retailers. We would be happy to facilitate that, and we will absolutely be happy to provide any support we can once it's up and running. But it really needs to be from and by the merchants. They don't need us coming in telling them what to do.
So beyond just the whole, planning for events, we're going to do this at this time of year, that, May Days we'll do this. Is there a greater purpose to a retail merchants association?
I think there is, because I think it brings about a continuity and a camaraderie among merchants and retailers, business people in the community, that they have each other's back. That if I don't have it, I'll tell you about them. If you're in my store, I'm going to tell you about that store. If it's a Saturday and you're here from out of town and you went here, then now you'll go there. And also because good ideas come in groups. They don't come in silos. When you get a group of people together, good things happen.
Sure. Well, and I wonder, just in terms of the context of a retail merchants association, would that foster a growth on the square in terms of, development of whether it's vacant buildings, retailer people willing to start a business in those spaces? Do you feel like it would prompt growth?
I think it prompts growth across the community, on the square and other places, because if you're in town and you're shopping and things are booming and going because of a merchants association, and they have that kind of power to do that, then it helps the whole community grow, because people want to move to, work in, settle in, open a business in a positive, vibrant community. And those vibrant communities happen in large part because of those merchants who are already here.
Sure.
And the more they come together, the more that can offer that potential.
Sure. Well, it's a great idea, I think. And I'm not a business owner, so I feel like I'm asking very uneducated questions here this morning. But be that as it may, anything on that topic, Mrs. Mayor, I didn't touch on, you wanted to mention?
I think we need to, I'm going to just give this plug again. I do it at the council meeting sometimes, is please shop local. Please shop local. It's nice to have, I guess, a package dropped at your door. But drive through town, and if you can get it here, get it here. We need to support the merchants that we have so that they can grow.
I think, I just speaking out loud and without thought, I guess, but or without thinking about this, but I know the chamber has kind of a business directory, and that it's largely their members, but it would be really cool to have a place to go where you could see what's on, like a mall directory, if you will, like what's on the square, what do they do, what do they offer, something like that, some central place we could find information like that.
Right, exactly. And I'll tell you, I just Google mapped something. Well, I Google mapped something with some help, because Google Maps aren't my absolute strong suit. But when I did, I called up businesses, looked up businesses in Clinton, and the whole map just lit up. People have no idea. The businesses on the square, how many have them in their home? Viable businesses that nobody knows about. So you are absolutely right. If there were a directory, not just chamber, but an actual directory of those somewhere where they could register their business online.
Totally.
So people could find that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, totally. Very
and
good.
now, as a volunteer, you are in charge of putting that together for our community. And I want to thank you publicly for doing that, Seth.
I could work on that.
That is really nice.
That seems like a fun idea.
That would be a fun idea. You can pull all those, but get them registered.
All right.
There you go.
Tell me what you need.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See, there's another volunteer. Look how easy that is.
She just recruited me.
There you go.
I feel like I was voluntold at some level, but
You
still,
were.
but
You were.
but still, I guess it'll work. Mrs. Mayor, let's wrap it up today. I know you've got a list of things, and I apologize, I have not gone over what you've got there. Anything you want to get
Just
to?
want to remind people of the voucher. Please remember the vouchers are still at City Hall. You can pick it up, bring your ID, and please help a neighbor out. If you drive down the street and you got a truck and you see somebody who's got a pile of stuff there, it's okay to pull over and ask if they want to throw it in there and help them get that off their property. Look around your own neighborhood, your own family, and see how you can help somebody. Maybe you're just help loading it. Maybe you're giving them a ride out there. But please help your neighbors out to pick stuff up and clean up our community.
Sure. Very good. In terms of city business, Mrs. Mayor, anything from the last few weeks? I know I had Tony on after last meeting, and now you. Anything from the July city council meetings of note from your perspective?
No, I don't think so. I think Tony, of course, does a great job with updates. I will say that please invite me back, and we'll talk a little more about the strategic plan. We're going to have another meeting.
Okay.
And so we're breaking that down to see what might need to be tweaked and where we're going. And I'd be glad to break that down a little more next time.
What's happened in the last month since we talked with you on that?
Well, concerning strategic plan, we've started to go through section by section to see what's still relevant and what's needed. And I'm starting, and I know Tony has talked to department heads about what they actually need and what has been accomplished. For example, with technology, with the police department, they've already done some of those things have already been put in place.
Yeah.
So
I know Chief Flowers is very proud of what his department has done in terms of their portion of the strategic plan.
So we need to tease through now and see what's still there. And of course, what's there is we need a city hall. We need a fire department.
Yeah, what's your thought on that?
We need a police station. Well, we need a police
we
station.
need it, obviously. How do we get there?
That. Well, we have to figure out how to pay for it, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about now. And where can it go? And what does it need to, what's pragmatically what it needs to look like? We'd like these folks to have the biggest and best of everything. We realize we don't get Disneyland, but we can have what they need. The question is, where's it going to go? And how do we pay for it? And we are having a lot of conversations about that.
Are you at liberty to say any good prospects on that front?
No, I drive around incessantly and think, would this work? Would this work? Would that? Because there is something to be said for location. And,
right.
And
particularly with police and fire.
Absolutely on where they may be. And again, how are you going to pay for that without burdening taxpayers to the point of breaking? But I will tell you that it is a goal of mine that we keep talking about it and taking action. I think we've talked about it for a number of years, I guess. But now we need to say, we now have conversations and drive around and say, where could this go?
Yeah. The financing of it piece, I've got about a minute here, just by the way. The financing of it, what are you thinking? What do you know? What can you tell us?
I think that as I said, you don't really want to burden taxpayers extensively, but maybe there's some other ways that some revenue can be moved around.
Okay.
Maybe there is a way to do that. Maybe you just have to bond it. Maybe you have to get a loan. Maybe, there's lots of options here, but we have to pay for it and we have to do it. And that's my point. We have to do this because they're operating, if you go take a tour, if you haven't, of the fire station and edge your way around those trucks in there, I'm like, geezy Pete.
I know. Nobody can fit in there.
Nobody can fit in there.
Yeah.
And these fellas, we count on them. We count on them, and they deserve our respect and our work to give them what they need to have.
For sure. Well said, Mrs. Mayor. Well, it's always good to have you in the studio. Thanks for doing this. We'll see you soon. Clinton Mayor Helen Michelassi, my guest in studio, following up the Tuesday night Clinton City Council meeting on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.